The University of Detroit Mercy presents another brand new episode of Ask the Professor, the radio show on which you match wits with University of Detroit Mercy professors in an unrehearsed session of questions and answers. Today's program was recorded using Zoom video conferencing technology.
The University Tower chimes, ringing another session of Ask the Professor, the show on which you match wits with University of Detroit Mercy professors in an unrehearsed session of questions and answers. I'm your host, Matt Maggio, and let me introduce to you our panel for today. To my left, but someone else's right, someone else's top, and someone else's bottom, it's Professor James Balfour Tubbs.
Hello. I was wondering who you were going to say. I can never tell who's to your left or to your right because they're rearranged on my screen.
So it's always a surprise.
It is.
So who's the Paul Lind for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's not me. That's all I know. It rearranges sometimes. So my kids are obsessed, Jim. That's why we all have funny names today with this cartoon they're watching. The lead character's name is Finn, and he encounters this basically this creature who calls him Phil. And his response is, "How did you almost know my name?" And the creature responds with just this classic adult humor hidden in a cartoon. "I have approximate knowledge of many things."
Oh, my students have approximate knowledge of many things too.
Oh, yes. Yes, they do.
It's called a C minus.
Can you give a more pointed example, Professor Tubbs?
I will refrain from doing that. Although Beth just had one.
Yes. And when you said that one, Beth, I couldn't help but think of my colleague, Mary Lou Caspers, who's told me, "I've read enough papers about the heat of salvation instead of the heat of salvation." It gets complicated. It just gets really complicated.
Well, once you hear a certain figure of speech and you're kind of used to it, you kind of use it whenever something similar arises.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't think the student was really, I assumed it was not that she was confused, but just typed the wrong word, as we sometimes do. But it was pretty hysterical in the context. So
Autocorrect is the enemy of the well-read, let me tell you. The number of times I have typed the word, or apparently typed the word, trumpet into a text is very interesting. That's all I'm going to say.
Ooh.
I always mistype the word philosophy, believe it or not.
Oh, no. I understand that.
I mistype it as philosophy. I always leave out that first O for some reason, which is kind of embarrassing, but
we all I think have certain typing mistakes that we make again and again and again. For me, one of them is that TAHT instead of THAT. For some reason, I just keep making the same mistake over and over again.
Professor Heather Hill, what's your go-to typing error?
Medieval.
Oh,
now I feel better. This is exactly what I was talking about.
I always want to type it MIDEVIL. No.
Yeah, spell it the way it sounds, right?
No, you get kind of self-conscious, and you're like, I should know how to spell medieval since it's my area, and then I'm like, did I spell it right? And then I'm embarrassed that I don't know if I spelled it right.
We know that's why you choose to get a PhD in that area, so you can learn how to spell it.
That's right.
Absolutely.
But no, yeah.
You're just spending too much time reading Latin, so that probably.
Fortunately, ethics is easier to spell.
Utilitarianism is easy to mistype, though.
Yes, that is. Yes, I mistyped that one a lot too.
Oh Lord.
I'm feeling really bad about the fact that my go-to mistyped word is the. I almost always type TEH, and it doesn't get much smaller than that. So.
Yeah, that's the same mistake I make with that.
Professor Dave Chow is here with us today.
Pleasure to be here as always.
And how many hours of sleep, Dave?
3.
Wow.
I still got 60 drawings due by tomorrow.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, what are you doing hanging out with us?
Yeah, no kidding.
I've got an attendance record I've kind of like started off, and I'm not
Yeah,
going to
they
bail
did.
on it. That's all. So.
Well, you've attended now, so you can leave.
Well, what? I'm going to go call Roy Finkenbein right about now and have him come off the bench?
The Iron Man of Ask the Professor.
The Lou Gehrig, right? Oh, dear
That's
Lord.
Yep.
Just what I need.
The Cal Ripken Jr. of the Ask the Professor panel.
Okay, now, if you guys want to talk about horrible spelling errors in regards to like texting and chatting, I can't remember. There's somebody I think it's for a warranty, and they said, I'm sorry for your incontinence as opposed to convenience. That was the worst one I've ever seen. Sorry for your incontinence. I said, I beg your pardon. I didn't know you knew that I had chili for dinner. That's all. So
I would be sorry for your incontinence too, for sure.
I would be too. So,
There's a word that Aristotle uses that gets translated as incontinence, but basically means intemperate. That's actually what he's talking about. But when students hear him talking about the virtue or vice of incontinence, they're like, what is that about?
oh no.
Oh, the virtues, the many virtues.
Those, of course,
Temperance is a virtue.
The dulcet tones of Professor Beth Oljar. Beth, you sent a picture of your beautiful kitty lying on her back with her paw up, like, just don't.
Talk to the paw. She's being quite the little diva. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. It's okay. I think that finding cats in those kinds of positions and preserving them forever in a photograph is very, very funny. Very, very
As opposed to resin. So.
right. Use resin. That's right. Leave it to the chemists. Professor Jeff Boats is here with us today.
How you doing?
How are you doing, Jeff?
Not too bad. My autocorrect nightmares have to do with me typing on the wrong language keyboard half the time. Like in French, the A and the Z are in different places, and then in the Danish keyboard, there's extra letters, so all the things get skinnier, which means I keep missing the S and hitting A, and vice versa.
Well, Jeff, how many things do you have to type on the Danish keyboard?
Not too much. I have it on the Danish keyboard sometimes because I'll be doing Duolingo, so I'll be learning it on there, and then I'll start texting someone, and every word gets flagged as a spelling error because it means something else.
That is awesome. Although I got to say, in more recent years, I've seen a lot of our students using the dual keyboard for English, Roman, and Korean, and so they have like a layer over their keyboard to go back.
How does that work?
It's complex. I can't even believe what we're hearing from Jeff here. This is incredible to code switch like that. I can barely understand how to spell different kinds of pasta. So it's like crazy.
I'm lucky if I can hit the right function keys for symbols and symbolic. I mean, it's easier to assign a function key to a particular symbol in symbolic logic, and then I got to remember what key I assign to what symbol so that I don't make a disjunction out of a conjunction and vice versa. But it's not a whole separate keyboard. Although that'd be kind of cool.
On the side.
A logic keyboard. That'd be awesome.
Professor Dan Maggio is here with us today. What's up, Dan?
Matt, not too much. It's been a long week, so a little tired.
Yeah, you're back from vacation.
Yeah, I was. We were up north last week. The colors are beautiful. I mean, really, really nice. I think just got there at the right time, but I just think this was a really spectacular year. But I don't think I saw the sun once.
Really?
And,
I don't know.
I think it peeked through a little bit, but for the most part, it was cloudy and rainy and windy. But that was fine. I managed to enjoy myself nonetheless.
I don't know, Dan. You look a little tanner than usual. Maybe even taller too on screen. So.
I don't think so. I think those days are over.
It reminds me of something I read once, Dan. It was a cold, gray, November-ish day in October. We can wait for that kind of fall. Let's have the fun fall like we have right now. I see the the light just streaming into most of your places. I'm in my basement, but it's been glowing all over Jim since day one.
The gray is moving in though from the west. We're going to have a major thunderstorm here pretty soon.
We're going to get rain here any minute now.
Yep.
But I
The
was
warmth we've had all day is meeting a cold front from the west, and it's going to drench us.
She's
I
going to
can see
blow.
all the changing leaves from my office window because I have two big trees on the street right across from me, so they're changing colors and the leaves are all falling and everything. So I get to see that whenever I want to take a break from, philosophy. A lot. So
Professor Mara Livezey is also here with us today. It was great doing drugs with you earlier.
I had a great time with that experience.
How was your drug demonstration?
And what did you demonstrate?
Psychedelic, let me tell you.
Oh, psychedelics.
Mara,
bison, LSD.
Mara, give the panel and our listeners a little background here.
Yeah, before we get busted.
So I teach a class that I hoped would be called Let's Do Drugs, but then was later renamed to How Drugs Work. And I have a variety of guest speakers joining me this semester. This week's theme was opioids. So Professor Maggio came to visit and talk to us about the opioid epidemic.
Although the Schuyler family is going to have to pay quite a hefty fine, which is nice.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we had lots of fun. It was great.
That was actually on my post-it note, Mara, and I didn't get a chance to get to Purdue Pharma, but the students had good questions, so I want to make sure I responded to those.
Yeah, it's interesting that we've worried a lot about the opioid epidemic, far more than we worried about the crack epidemic of the 80s. Gee, I wonder why that might be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There may be a reason.
Just remember, Donald Trump is the least racist person in the room.
In the room.
I'm
kind of wondering what room he was in when he came up with that idea.
I think he was defining room as everyone within 10 feet of him.
Sneezing distance.
I was thinking it might have been a clan hall where he was standing when he thought of that.
I was just going to say that my autocorrect already clicked in and changed it to trumpet. Folks, this is a program where you can send us questions regarding anything. If you stump the panel, you win a prize. If you don't stump the panel, you win a prize. You can send us the questions in a number of ways, primarily emailing us at atp@udmercy.edu. Find us on the Facebook or Instagram, or listen on your favorite smart speaker by asking it to play Ask the Professor at University of Detroit Mercy. We have a highly secret set of questions sent in from Anonymous. 15 questions, a few sports related. I can already hear your groans. A few pandemic related, a few political, and the rest random hodgepodge. That's like my middle name. So have fun, professors. Let's see what we can do with these interesting questions now that my third grade son has decided to join us. Say hi, Emmett.
Hi, Emmett.
Hey, Emmett.
Emmett.
Why are you still wearing your mask?
I don't know why.
Go hang it up. Okay. What is the whitest large city in the United States with a population of 500,000 or more?
Livonia.
I mean, that's a good guess. I just don't think 500,000 people live in Livonia.
Oh, darn. Okay.
That's
pretty good.
Portland.
You know, it's Portland, Oregon. Yeah, it's Portland, Oregon.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I would have guessed too.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I have to give partial credit to Dave for going with Livonia, which is definitely one of the whitest cities in the United States. I believe it's like a solid 98.7 or something like that.
When my parents lived there, I think they were they tipped the scale. So
wow. But it's not at the 500,000 mark yet. So we
darn. Okay.
In the U.S.
Uh-oh.
Again.
With Beth. Our next question is, a study published in April 2020 found that men were how many more times likely to die of COVID-19 versus women?
4 times.
5 times.
3.
I have to give it to Mara at 2.4. 2.4.
Oh,
Does anybody know the reason why?
Duh.
Well, I think that goes without saying.
we're just fragile creatures. That's all. We're just fragile and like wicker furniture.
I'm
I
gonna
don't-
go with the scientific explanation. Men have increased expression of the ACE receptor.
That's a version of what it
Wow.
says here. It says that women actually produce more T cells. So it's pretty much the same thing.
Oh.
How about who was the only man to witness both of the New York Mets title clinching games in 1969 and 1986 as a uniform player at Old Shea Stadium?
Oh, I was a Mets fan growing up, so I want to make the first guess.
Go for it.
Bob. Or no, he was Montreal back then, wasn't he? Nah.
What were you thinking, Jeff?
I was thinking Rusty Staub, but he was Montreal back in the 60s.
Le Grand Orange.
Wait.
That's what his nickname was. Rusty
That's right.
Staub's nickname was Le Grand Orange.
Oh.
That's right. The Great Orange.
Don't ask me why I knew that.
No, the
You
initials
know
here, Jeff,
everything.
are TS.
Tom Seaver.
Yeah, it was Tom Seaver. Yep.
Oh, he was a coach. Trick question. Yeah.
He was actually with the Red Sox in '86, though a knee injury kept him off the World Series roster. So it was kind of both sides of the similar coin. Okay, so the 2020 presidential election. I'll do it for all of us. Spending on advertising is projected to be how many times more from 1980 to 2020?
Ooh.
How many times
Time
more-
on spending?
Or what?
Voting or
This is the
participation?
presidential election, spending on advertising
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh.
times more.
50.
300.
You're really, really close. It doesn't matter because we also have inflation, right? It's really, really disturbing. It's 37 times more.
Woo.
From 60 million spent in 1980 to 190 million. Adjusted for inflation, that brings us to $7 billion in 2020. I can't even,
yikes.
it's incredible.
I'm printing up lawn signs. Doggone it. That's where the real money's at.
Well, if we had publicly funded elections,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, that's what it takes.
Well, we do, but they have to accept the limits of it, and they don't.
No. Why would they?
Hey, we've been joined by Professor Stephen Manning.
Good afternoon. Sorry I'm late.
That's all right. We know you're busy.
Are you outside?
Yes,
For now.
until it starts to rain.
I could-
Yeah, that's not going to be long, I'm afraid, because in Southfield, it's about to start.
I already hear some rumbling here.
it's
Anyway,
overcast.
How was my stomach?
Somebody get him some pork buns quick.
Pork buns.
I got those last night. So
All right, let's try this one. In March 2020, there was an online survey conducted by the New York Times Research and Analysis Department. How did 2,250 subscribers respond to this question? Which body part do you feel most squeamish imagining being injured? I love
Eyeball.
this question.
Oh,
What was
yeah.
it, Dan?
The eyeball.
Yeah, it's eyeballs by like leaps and bounds. I was trying to think of a really good
That was
idiom.
Makes
That was
sense.
my first guess.
73%. 73%. The next one underneath was 14%. What was it?
pinky toe.
The tongue.
No, but you're so close, Dan. It's
Teeth. Yeah.
Oh, there's
Oh.
Oh,
Anything facial is like ruin our sterling good looks, you know? I mean,
No. Let's try this one. What percent of new car sales in the US are battery powered? So electric vehicles.
14.
4%.
7.
Yeah,
you
it's
can't-
it's really small. I appreciate your forward thinking, Professor Tubbs, but in the United States, it's only 2.
2%.
It's
Hmm.
to 5 in Europe, is what it
Two-
says.
Dan's answer
Two
was
cars
10%.
or 2%?
2%.
2%.
Yeah, it's 2% in the US and 5% in Europe.
It's too bad.
Whole cars taste better than 2% cars.
Oh, are those pretzels? Hey, I live pretty close.
Yeah, he's got pretzels. Why
Are
don't
they
you go throw
are they
away that?
twisty? What kind of pretzels are they? Are
Oh, they were
twisty?
curly. They were curly.
They're curly.
Oh
Oh,
my
what's
gosh.
that?
Chocolate covered pretzel
Ooh.
crisps.
Decadence.
Pretzel
Pretzels all
crisps.
around. How about what country with a population of 11.2 million, that's on par with the population of the great state of Michigan, had as of, let's see, September 18th, just over 5,000 coronavirus cases and 115 deaths. This is among the lowest mortality rates for COVID in the world.
Norway. Sweden.
New Zealand.
South Korea.
Korea, South Korea.
Eastern Europe?
Um,
China.
No. New Zealand.
Nope.
11 million.
Mm-hmm.
We said Sweden, Denmark.
Iceland.
Denmark?
Antarctica.
Not even
All right,
close.
I'll go Canada.
Nope.
No,
It
Canada's
is-
got 30 million people.
I know. I was hoping.
It is in the Americas.
Oh,
Oh.
Bolivia.
Nope.
Nicaragua.
Ecuador.
It
Nicaragua.
is an island nation.
Cuba, Haiti.
So 11 million people?
It's Cuba, the
Cuba.
great,
Cuba.
the great country of Cuba. There's also a little warning attached to this. A warning, do not mention the world's lowest mortality rate confirmed by the WHO if you ever in the United States. Very disturbing, very disturbing. Of course, don't forget, I think that this is the way that I would have solved that last one. If it was North Korea, then it would have only been one case with no mortality because that's all they've reported to the WHO.
They're
Mm.
too busy killing their citizens in other ways.
Exactly, exactly. When was the last time the University of Michigan had a home football crowd of fewer than 100,000 watching the Wolverines?
It'll be this weekend.
Yes, but that's potential. In the
Oh,
1952.
It's a good guess, but you're a little bit off.
No, it would have been 1997.
Back from that, if we split the difference, we end up pretty quickly at
75.
1975. 1975.
Nice, Heather, with the math.
way to go.
Nice.
Calculation.
Mm.
But I do believe that records such as these, if we can even call them that, are going to very quickly go away, starting with this weird world of little groups of people just sort of sitting in the middle of nowhere at these games. How many nuclear armed countries are there on planet Earth?
7,
Right?
isn't it?
11.
8.
More than-
8.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let's see.
Jeff,
Okay.
what was that?
I said 8.
Yeah, it says it's 9, and you guys real quickly got to the. So
Okay. So
China.
Russia, China, U.S.,
India,
North-
Pakistan.
India,
North Korea.
Pakistan, North Korea, Israel.
France.
Okay.
9 that we know of.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah.
I just had this thing about Luxembourg from the beginning, and frankly, Vatican. I mean, let's get serious.
The Vatican has nuclear weapons.
But they keep
Well, the problem the Vatican has is they don't have enough room to build the centrifuge there.
Yes.
They would have to, dig up all the Vatican gardens to have room for the centrifuge.
That's right.
What would they find buried in those gardens?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Who knows? Who knows?
Yes, let's go find out.
Roughly 60% of known infectious diseases and 75% of new or emerging infective diseases are zoonotic in their origin. What does the
Ooh.
term zoonotic mean?
Originate
animal?
from animals.
Came from an animal.
Animals to humans. Animals to humans. Yep. that's
Ew.
very disturbing. Very
Down,
disturbing.
Dave. It's okay. Calm down.
Oh.
You only
Leave my
draw animals.
Oh, okay. It's kind of like it makes my eyeballs itch. So-
Uh-oh. Don't say that.
Oh, sorry.
Don't
Life
scratch.
sentences in prison in the U.S. have risen how many times as a multiplier since the 1980s to the 2020?
Could you repeat that question again, please?
Prison life sentences in the U.S. have risen how many times since the 1980s?
I bet this has something to do with drug laws.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
100.
100 is a little high, but let's be serious, even if it was twice over, yeah. So
85.
no, it's
seems-
only 4 times. It's only
Yeah.
4 times, but
Wow.
that's enough.
That's mucho plenty.
Yeah, that's a lot. A few more here. Who's the only person to have served as chief of staff to 2 U.S. presidents? Now that's kind of interesting.
Jim Baker?
It
Yeah, I was
is.
gonna
It's
say-
Jim
that's what I was
Baker.
going to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. To both
H.W.
Reagan and Bush.
Mm-hmm. You jumped right on that, Jim. It must be the James connection.
No, there's a, they were doing a special about him or talking about him on CNN or MSNBC or one of the channels. A new book is out about him because he was involved in several administrations in big ways, very big ways.
Yep. I think the way we could think about it with the current administration is how many different chief of staffs did Trump have just this afternoon?
yeah, that would be it.
Like George Steinbrenner and
God.
General GMs.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. According to a 2010 Harvard study, what % of the time does the average person's mind wander from the task at hand?
What?
Say it again. Huh?
What? Did you say something?
Where am I?
30.
You knew that question would elicit that response, Matt.
I think 45.
Oh, what? What did
Yeah.
you say?
I
wasn't
forgot
paying
the
attention.
question.
That was a softball one.
Themselves, you yucksters.
You all are nuts. No, Jim basically got it. It's 47. Jim said
Oh, okay.
47% of the time your
Wow.
mind is going to wander.
It increases when you retire. Can you confirm, Jim?
Yeah, I think so.
There's been someone lecturing on math too, I've noticed.
Absolutely.
We lost Bethy.
I know we lost her. She'll come back though, I hope. Last question here, professors. Last question. In the modern era, which Major League Baseball player holds the record for the highest batting average over a 60-day span?
60-day. Ooh.
I can help sort of give you a locus by saying it was June 30th to September 4th, 2004.
I'll guess Barry Bonds.
That's a good guess.
Mark McGuire.
Nope.
That's too early.
This player batted June 30th to September 4th, 2004, batted a 460.
Whew.
Whoa.
The reincarnation of Ted Williams.
And that's a very good guess. But
Just his frozen head.
Ooh, I know.
I'm back.
Hi, Beth.
We're glad to
Hi,
have you.
Sorry.
Retired by then, right?
That's all right.
2004.
Tony
David
Gwynn.
Ortiz.
Retired
David
by then?
Ortiz.
One more time, Jeff.
Tony Gwynn, or had he retired by then?
I think he may have been
Yeah.
gone. Yeah.
David Ortiz. No.
This is the most
Oh,
understated, fantastic baseball player, basically of all time, as far as I'm
Brandon
concerned. This is
Alex Rodriguez.
Don Kelly.
Derek Jeter.
none of these people are understated. None of them.
Oh, you said understated. I didn't.
Understated. You know who it was? It was Ichiro Suzuki.
Oh.
I was about to give my clue was going to be because we all know that Tiger Woods was holding a golf club before he could actually talk to his father. His dad was giving him pointers on his swing. The same applies for Ichiro, who basically has spent his entire life practicing or playing baseball from the moment he could stand on 2 legs. And he was spectacular, but recently retired last couple years. Yeah, so he played for the Mariners those seasons in the time when the Mariners, it was 2001, they won over 120 games, I think, which is pretty spectacular.
Now, didn't he sign somewhere else and then re-sign back to retire under the Mariners?
I think that he signed with the Yankees. It was his last team. Yeah.
No, but didn't they sign him to like a one-day contract with the Mariners so he could retire
Yeah.
One of those deals.
They had some pretty good seasons while Heather and I were in graduate school. The Mariners had some good seasons in the mid to late 90s.
Yep.
I recall.
And Griffey Jr.
In a horrible stadium.
Exactly.
That horrible indoor stadium.
What the King Dome was it? Is that what it was?
We used to call it the Thing Dome.
Yeah. When they finally dynamited.
That's right. They imploded it, right?
It had been there a long time, though. I mean,
ooh, the rain has started.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Big time. Big time.
I haven't gotten it yet.
Around. I tell you what, though, Props, we had a real great set of questions, and you did really, really well. I'm afraid the time has come
for
us to say goodbye. Mara.
Goodbye.
Dan.
Goodbye.
Steven.
Bye.
Jeff.
Bye.
Beth.
Hello and bye.
Dave.
See ya.
Heather.
Bye-bye.
And Jim.
Arrivederci.
And now these words from University of Detroit Mercy. Ask the Professor is transcribed at the facilities of our houses, but we're still out of the Department of Communication Studies in the College of Liberal Arts and Education at University of Detroit Mercy. Ask the Professor is produced and technically directed by Michael Jason and Brian Masonville, and our executive producer is Professor Jason Roach. Until next week, I'm your host, Matt Maggio.